Number 2, Chikafu Chanaka. Yes. So, hello everybody. My name is Nathan Brentingham. I am from the USA, living in LA right now, but I grew up in China. That's how I know these guys. Kingdom came to China in 2008. Yeah, we met. He was a part of our church in China, and so I knew their whole family from that. And Reggie came over. Yeah, it was a good time. Yeah, that's a little bit about myself. I'm not really a pastor. I'm a 22-year-old guy that is doing business with his dad, and that's enough for Jesus. I think that not everybody has to be a pastor, but everybody can still serve the Lord. And so that's where my story begins today is, I just got into business with my dad. My dad has been a businessman for 30 years. Before that, he was a missionary kid in Taiwan, so he speaks fluent Chinese and fluent English, which is very helpful in today's world. Let's get into it. We're going to talk about business. Who wants to talk about business? Woohoo! Yeah. Personally, I have not a lot of experience in business because I've only been doing it for 1 year. However, I can tell you that the business identity, if you attach that as your identity, can be a very detrimental thing as well as it can be a very positive thing. A lot of this world right now is about what you're identifying with. Are you, Christian or are you not Christian? Are you this or are you that? Are you a businessman? Are you a pastor? Are you, and there's so many things that are trying to steal the identity in which God tells us that there's only really one identity, and that's being a son of God, and that's being a child of God. And that's the most important. Everything else, sure, you can have an identity as a mom or as a brother. But it doesn't carry the same weight as if I say I am a child of God. And I think that for my life, that was something I missed for the first 20 years until about 2 years ago. I grew up in a Christian household, as many of you might as well. But I didn't really know Jesus. I knew of him. I knew that he loved me, and I knew he was good, but I didn't really know what that even meant, that he loved me. I knew I knew the words, but I didn't know it in my heart. And so it was in college. I went to an American college, which I'm very grateful for. But I went to college for one reason, and that was actually two reasons, and they're both kind of funny. I went to college to play basketball, which was my first thing. College basketball in America is like the biggest thing in the world. And so I wanted to go play basketball in college, and that was my lifelong dream. It was like I would go to church, and then I would go play basketball. I would go to school, and then I'd go play basketball. It was my life. And I know that there's a lot of you in here that also have some sort of dream or goal that you're going for that is like priority number one. And so you may not be a basketball player, but it may be something else for you that you're really striving for. And I guess my testimony with this is I got to college and I was trying out for the basketball team. And after 6 months of playing with the team, I was cut from the team because I wasn't good enough. And this was after I had practiced my whole life to get to that point. And a lot of people have had that kind of moment where they've done something so long, and then you get to this point and it gets cut off, and you can do nothing about it. And so for me, that happened in college. And the thing was, I didn't have a second identity that I could bank on. It was only basketball. I had basketball, and then the second goal was to go find a wife, which I was unsuccessful too. So I had two goals. I was like, I was there to learn, and I was there to get a business degree and all this stuff, but my priorities were not on that business. It was on playing basketball and being validated by having a girlfriend or something like that. And I accomplished neither in the first year. And so I sat in my dorm room after being cut from the team. And I can tell you it was one of the lowest points of my life. I really thought about ending it because I didn't have anything to live for anymore. And I think that's what a lot of people get to, is they practice all this time doing one thing, and then they get to the end of the road. It's like, I'll use a metaphor, it's like you're climbing a mountain, and once you get to the top of the mountain, you realize the only thing that's left is a way down. And that is like the worldly measure of success, if that makes sense. It's like, even in business, the people at the bottom are still trying to get to the middle, and the middle of the people are trying to get to the top. And the people that have made it to the very top, you're actually seeing a lot of people that are really depressed and having a lot of mental illnesses at the top because they realized that once they got to the top of the money ladder, that there was nothing there. That happiness was not based in money. It was based in something else that they didn't have. And so, so I got to that point in my life where I was like, wow, I can't have this identity be in something other than in Jesus. And that took a very long time to actually figure out. For about 6 months, I then sat there doing really nothing. And I thought, I probably should pray or talk to Jesus or read my Bible or maybe talk to somebody about how I'm feeling. But there wasn't any, it just didn't feel like, I don't know, I wasn't there yet. And I wanted to get there, but I didn't know how. And so today I'm going to be talking, I'll probably make it short, but I'll be talking a little bit about business, but I'll also be talking, because that's where my life is right now, but I'll also be talking about how to live out the Christian life in the business world according to what I've already lived, if that makes sense. And so I would say the first thing is that I found really necessary is identity, and I've already kind of talked about that a little bit. I'm going to pull up some notes. There was this person that told me a story a little bit ago, saying a relationship with Jesus is kind of like clothes. You can have a ton of different clothes in your closet, and they all might look semi-good, but the one with Jesus is the one that perfectly fits you. It's like you were made to wear Jesus' clothes. And that's what we see as we're image of God bearers. We were made in the image of God. And so those are the only clothes that really fit us perfectly. Every other thing, you can put on selfishness or greed, or even the pursuit of fame or the pursuit of money in all of these different areas. And even if it looks nice at the beginning, it won't perfectly fit you. And it'll feel weird to you. And so that's kind of how I'm going to base this off of, is what are those clothes for you? What is something that you are struggling with because it's hindering you're not putting on Jesus' clothes, you're putting on something else. What other clothes? What are those other clothes? And I think it's important to identify what you're actually going for in life and saying, no, I don't want to go for that, I want to go for Jesus. And Jesus can take you to a lot of other places that perhaps you thought it was this way, but it's really this way. For me, being a millionaire in life, that sounds awesome, because then you can help a lot of people. But I don't want to get to be a millionaire and then sit with $1 million just for myself. I want to be, if I can be, the only way I would want to be a millionaire is if I was with God on that whole journey, and He brought me to that point. Because I don't think there's not anything wrong with being a millionaire if you're helping give away that money and helping people and, building the kingdom rather than your own kingdom. And so, the first question I have for you guys today is, what clothes do you have on right now that you might need to take off? Metaphorically, not literally. And then the second point, which is not a question, it's a statement, and this is, don't leave Jesus' clothes hanging in your closet. It's so available to you right now to have a life of joy and peace and all the things we were even talking about through all the messages, and they've been great. Joy, peace, love, self-control, all these fruits of the Spirit. They're all like articles of clothing basically you can put on when you put on Jesus. And your life, though you put on the clothes, you still might walk through the same like fire that you've already been going through. But now you have clothes that can go through that fire and you're fine. So this is the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Do you guys know that story? Yes. So I'm gonna sum it up because it's a longer story. I'm not gonna read the whole thing. But basically, three guys were in this opposing kingdom, and they refused to worship the gods of the land, and so they only wanted to worship the Lord of the Jewish, at the time Jewish. But they only wanted to worship God, and so the king at the time threw them into the fire to, tell a message to everybody else that you need to be bowing to me and to our gods. And what I find funny, this is kind of just where I want to, that's like the basis of the story. They were thrown into this fire and Jesus saved them. But what I find awesome about this story is that Jesus did not come with a whole heavenly host of angels and put out the fire. Instead, he just stood with them in the fire. And it's almost like if he had come out and put out the fire would have been the Lord. That needs to be quenched before they can be good. But if he didn't even care about the fire. The fire was not like the issue. And I think that's so powerful because we as people go through so many trials and struggles and fires in our life that we're always asking the Lord, hey God, can you take me out of the fire? I can't do this anymore. I can't live this life anymore. I'm struggling in this area, or this is happening to me, or this is happening to me. And that's yeah, me too. But that's the thing, is like if my I lost my train of thought right there. Thank you. What was I talking about? Fire. Yeah, I was talking about fire. No, so what I found in my own life is that when I became a Christian, it's not that the fires stopped. It's that I was able to walk through the fires and not be touched and be okay through the fires. And so yeah, I guess that I'm gonna keep it short and say finish up soon. But yeah, like you're all here right now, and either you are a Christian, you're almost a Christian, or you're heavily against Christianity. Like you're either on the edge, on this side, or on this side. Like you mentioned, you're either right here, or over here. And in all three spaces, the Bible tells us that we're going to experience trials of many natures. So it's not that the trials are going to go away. And I think that's really important, because I know for me, when I became a Christian, when I was 12 years old, I still experienced a whole world of struggles, and I felt I had all these questions like, God, why are you not taking me out of this? Not realizing that it doesn't have to be like the end of the world every time I fail a test, or it doesn't have to be at the end of the world every time that someone pushes me over in the line. And those are small examples, but all of those are showing the love of God and responding well when trials happen. And so, yeah, I would encourage you, and I'm going to do this my method of speaking is not as fiery as him. So, no, I would really encourage you that a life with Jesus is much more exciting than a life without Jesus. I've been able to go a lot of cool places, and not because I've been Christian, but while I was in those places, I've seen a lot of awesome things. I'll mention one. I was going on a business trip up to my college, where I'm still doing business around the college for my dad. And as I was there, one of my old friends from college came up to me, or was coming to say hi. She had a massive brace on her knee. She had just dislocated her whole knee. Every single tendon in her knee was gone. And because of that, she couldn't finish school. She had to drop out. Because of that, she also had to find a new job right away because she has to pay for her living. She had to do all these things. Major fire, you could say, has just came up in her life. She looked at me and she was like, hey, I don't need any prayer for anything. I don't need to be healed. I'm going to be okay. Still, I really felt like, wow, there's an opportunity to pray for someone. And why not? Like, why not pray for someone? So we prayed for her, and I for some reason, I had a lot of faith that day. and I told her, hey, text me when it's healed, because I think it's going to get healed. So 2 weeks later, after I've had a really, really rough week, I had a tremendously rough week. I was really like losing myself almost. And that's what the pastor just mentioned right before, is that sometimes if you don't cultivate the new life, the old life can come back. And so I wasn't cultivating my new life well in that week. And then all of a sudden, I get a text that says, hey, this morning I got healed. I just woke up and it was normal. And honestly, I was like, I need proof. Show me a video. Show me like something, because I couldn't compute it at the time. Like, and granted, I was not the only one that prayed for her. She had many people that prayed for her throughout the 2 weeks. But still, like, I feel like it was awesome to be involved in a miracle in that way. And that somebody's life now is back on course. She's now back in school. All these things are back to, like, she's going and she's pursuing the Lord. And I don't know, I don't want that just to be a 2-month thing for me. Like, every 2 months I see a miracle. Or every year I'll see one miracle. Like, I kind of want that to be a daily thing. That would be kind of fun to see. Not that I'm requiring it, but I want to live a life that is open to that has Jesus in it, so that I don't limit Jesus. And I think that's a lot of what we do in Christianity sometimes, is we say, well, God can heal, but then we say, oh, but he doesn't do it all the time. And we automatically limit his potential to do something because we say, oh, he doesn't do it all the time. And for me, that was freedom from sin. I was stuck in addiction for a long time. A long time. And it hurts my heart to say, just because I felt like the devil owned me. Like he had a leash on me, and he was pulling me along through life because I was in this addiction. And so I stumbled upon, was it Romans? Maybe not. One of the two. But it says that God has set you free from sin. And I read it and I said, oh, that's theoretical, because I'm not. That can't be true because I'm not. Even though I read it, I'm like, yeah, that probably is true for some people, but I'm not. And so I instantly limited myself and my potential by just saying a but statement, by saying, but that's not for me. Or this section of the Bible, yeah, it's great, but this section, I don't know if I can live that out, so I'm just going to not read that section. And so I think that's what I find the power of the Bible and Jesus to be, is that he's expanding my mind daily. Like every time I read the Bible, or even pray with people, or listen to sermons, or every single time I'm like talking to someone about Jesus, I'm learning something new about not only him, but about myself that I didn't realize I could do. Like I didn't realize I could come and speak to 200 people in Zimbabwe. That was not on my radar, like when I first came here. And then they said, come up and speak. And I was like, okay, sweet, let's do it. But what an adventure. Like this is, I'm finding this fun. I hope you are enjoying this.
Yeah.
But what an adventure. Like, and you never know where Jesus could take you. Don't limit him. And I think that's the last thing I'll say is, don't limit what God could do in your life, because it's probably a lot more than you think it is. But anyway, that's it. Should I tell some jokes or something?
Yes.
Is there anybody come to get it? Oh, sorry, Reggie.